Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of April 10th, 2025. This meeting will be conducted as a hybrid. It will be an in-person meeting and has a Zoom component. Zoom meeting ID for the record, 835-8120-9301. I recognize in attendance myself, Joe Parisi, Catherine Schlichty, Michael Nyman, and Ron Wilson. And I declare we have a quorum. Our first order of business is the approval of the consent agenda for the decisions at 29 Cliff Road and 7 Periwinkle Lane. Need a motion.
I have reviewed the two decisions and I move the approval for your signature.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have 4 hearings tonight. The first hearing is the petition of James Pratt seeking a special permit under 2.4.3 and a use variance under 2.3.4 subsection 10 to change, extend, or alter an existing nonconforming use to allow for the sale of used motor vehicles at 95 rear Maplewood Avenue. Anyone? Everybody good? I'm good.
All right, I'll be good.
Okay.
Good evening.
Remind everybody, we get the name and address first, and then we can hold the microphone right to you, because the people at home won't be able to hear.
All right. Shane the Flam. I own Grove Street Auto on Jimmy Pratt's property on 95 Maplewood Ave.
And now you're just doing, oh, I'll ask questions after you say what you want to say, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just ready for you, whatever.
Go ahead, you can tell us about your project.
So we're looking to get a dealer's license for our business financially for one, but mainly for that. We just have a lot of vehicles that come to the shop that people don't want anymore. They're blowing up. They're going to go to the junkyard. So this would give us, my family and I, an opportunity to repair these vehicles and sell them legally instead of like send them to the junkyard. So I believe I have my dealer's license on my last property. Not that I sold many cars, so I don't plan on selling 1 million cars. I've mostly 1 or 2 in the parking lot. Start off with 1 when a vehicle comes in to be repaired, and if they don't want it, I may buy it and repair it and sell it. That's it.
Right now, you're just doing auto body work and repair work?
Yeah, automotive, yeah.
Yeah,
Just repair.
yeah. When I went down there today, there were just a lot of there were a lot of cars and trucks around and whatnot. And so when most of the ones I saw, people, clients of yours who were coming in to have those,
Yes, exactly.
leaving them to be repaired and whatnot.
Yeah.
So how long have you had that business at this site?
Close to 14 years, maybe.
Yeah, and was it an auto, did you get a use variance to have an automotive
Yes,
business
I
there
did,
before?
yes. I was at 105 Maplewood Ave. And
Okay.
that's where my business started there.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to move to Jimmy Pratt's property. And we just started there, and we've been there about 14 years.
So that building that's in front, that's on Maplewood Avenue, is that parking area like behind their house, like behind the house, that kind of looks like it's part of your lot? Is that for the parking for the residences?
Yes, exactly.
And then you
Yeah.
park to the side and behind?
To the side and all in the back.
Okay. And how many cars would you have prepared and for sale?
Oh, well, I'll start off with 1.
Yeah.
Like I say, I had my license before, and I didn't reapply because I didn't really sell any cars.
You're not going to be a dealership. You're just going to take cars that people are kind of junking and you're going to put.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
You'll be selling used cars. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Talks about 3 spots.
Yeah, that was another question.
Say it again, Joe.
These only shows and mentions three cars maximum.
Yeah, maximum for sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any more than 3 cars for sale on your lot.
Probably never. ever.
So if we approve this, can we set a restriction like that or not?
I don't see
Yeah,
why not.
because of the space dedicated to it
Yeah,
on the application.
yeah. Well,
How many
Yeah.
was it?
he had what? That he could have a limited number of cars for sale. Yeah, so is this a use variance or is this a modification of a prior variance? I mean, on one hand, so for a use variance, it's not practical to use the property for what it's zoned for, which is residential use.
Well, it's a commercial building.
Huh?
It's a commercial building.
Yeah, it's clearly a commercial building. It's
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
big commercial building, yeah. And that use is already on the lot. So I guess my question is, are we modifying a prior variance or are we granting a second variance for the sale of cars?
There's a separate line, there's auto repair
It
and
is
there's
a
auto
separate
sales.
use. in
It's
the-
a
yeah.
separate use in the zoning one, so it would be
Okay,
a
a second.
new
variance.
use variance. yeah.
Okay. I have no more questions.
I'm just
Okay.
not sure what the criteria we use to judge these types of change of use. It is a residential zoned area.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little history on the building. It's never been a residential building. It was previous to Shane, it was a woodworking shop. Previous to that, it was the Cape Ann Box Company, which made wooden boxes to pack fish and ship it to the airport. And that was since, I want to say, in the early 60s. So it's always been sort of an industrial use. And he's operated there for quite a while without, very busy shop, it appeared, a lot of trucks, but I haven't made note of any complaints, so.
So the standard for a use variance is that it cannot be used for its zoned use, which is residential. So it's not really practical to put
Yeah, I think
residential-
history argues that it can't be used for residential because
Right.
it's never been used for residential.
Yeah, it's
right?
got that big commercial building
Yes,
there. It's got,
yes.
yeah.
But it's not a change from a residential use
No, it's
to a commercial.
currently
This is an additional
an additional commercial use.
commercial
being-
use.
Yes.
When I visited today, it looks like the spaces, it's almost that whole front area is open to the yard, the paved area. There's no curb cut. And I looked at where those spaces are and I'm saying, well, now if you park cars there, you're going to have to drive around them and you've got all that space in the back where you've got cars.
So,
Yeah.
so let's
It
make
may
sure.
not be germane, but it just seems like an awfully odd place to stick the cars.
So, yeah, maybe I'm just missing where the cars are. Yes. Yes.
But you do have 38 feet from the building to the property line. So if I parallel park, a vehicle's only 6 feet wide. In
That's
lengthwise,
38.
it's less than 20 feet, so that still leave 18 feet of roadway to get through. I don't really have to put it there. I just thought that's where you would want it.
This point could have-
I don't know if I can,
You could condition with.
you can condition that, but I
With,
would be more in favor of this if the spaces were behind the building. That it, no, the parking
on the-
spaces are right there on the road.
They're on
No,
the,
the road's here.
No, this is the road.
This is unnamed roadway.
that's the,
Maplewood Avenue.
is
There's
out
no
here.
access, there's no access from this side.
No, there's, yeah,
Oh,
Maplewood's
I
way
see what
out
you're
here.
saying. Maplewood Avenue
Maplewood's over
is
here.
over here. Yeah,
You've
yeah,
got
yeah.
the drive
That
here.
unnamed road is a right of way that everybody uses to get to those other houses too. And then
Can you put them behind your
turn
building
right.
as opposed?
Oh, yes, I could. The reason why I picked that spot was 'cause I thought that they would have to be seen from the street for some reason. I don't know if I saw that or read it or someone told me that, so I put it there so if people were driving by, they could see the cars. Not for selling them, just because I thought that's what I required to be for that.
All right, you can have a seat, and we're going
Thank
to take some public testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in favor? If you're on Zoom, you hit your raise hand button. If you're here in the hall, come forward, give your name and address, and tell us what you think. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Deb?
Good evening. Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. I represent the owner of 89 and 93 Maplewood Avenue, Woodnut LLC. And as you know, I don't often speak in opposition to applications before your board, but this is a situation where there's potential harm to the residential units that are immediate abutters, including my client. And the requested use variance, I would argue, does not meet the legal criteria. I do want to make it clear my client is not opposed to this particular applicant. He runs a nice establishment. However, you can't condition your variance, this grant of the variance, that he remain the owner. It goes with the property, and so it goes to any future owner. Then we don't know whether or not they will continue to run a respectable operation. So there was a use variance that was granted in 1981, and then it was modified in 2009 to allow his welding, fabrication, auto repair, and office. Now he's seeking a use variance to have an ability to sell cars, and I would say that it is a use variance because it's a separate category. The property, if you've been down there, it's densely populated, it's R5. It's accessed by a private way that's abutted by 6 residential units. If you looked at the backyard of 95 Maplewood, you saw a lot of children's toys out there, and it directly abuts that property. Sale of cars likely to increase traffic, and people may be browsing, test drives, all of those types of things. So there's more in and out, and potentially people who aren't familiar with the neighborhood or the residences around there. It also doesn't meet the legal standard. Under 1.7.2, it is actually that there cannot be any other feasible or economic use of the property. It's not merely that it can't be used for residential purposes, it's that there's no other economic use that can be made. Here, we have a legal, feasible economic use that is being made of the property, and I would suggest that there is no allowance to add another use, particularly one that is not allowed in the R5 or any other residential district in the city. And in fact, it's only allowed in 4 out of 15 of the zoning districts in the city. So it's clear that the city believes that this is a use that should be strictly in a business district. And again, my client isn't concerned with this applicant, but this variance follows the land. And so I respectfully request that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Close public testimony and go into discussion by the board.
Or thoughts on Deb's comments on it as a viable use?
Yeah, no other. I mean, there's
Her,
currently.
her
is.
argument is it has another use
It
that's,
has it.
But
that,
my
so
question-
I'm not agreeing with her necessarily. I'm really asking for
My
your
question would
thoughts.
be, who's the arbiter of no other economic use? In other words, he may need this extra revenue to keep his business alive. So who decides
We do.
whether there's whether there's an economic value or not?
I'm weighing is what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't see why we can't restrict it to 3 spaces, and I don't you know, a different operator comes in there, I don't see being able to sell 3 used cars at a time. I know the variance, the use variance goes with the property. I have a deal with a business down in Woburn, their use variances do not go with the property. A change of ownership, you have to reapply. It's pretty risky. I've been through it. And so, yeah, I would go with the property. I know,
Yeah, I mean, this sort of thing, I'm just listening again to Deb's argument against, that it doesn't seem that, so I don't like where the cars are situated on the lot, on the map. I would like them sort of more in with the cars that they're using, you know, to work on and stuff in their regular business. So it could be anywhere along the back or over along the back left-hand side or something like that. I don't really like them where they are. But I think just addressing how much more traffic. So this is an auto body repair, not auto body. This is a repair shop. There's a lot of traffic in and out of there on a regular basis. I mean, they're regular clients, but there's a lot of traffic in there, in and out. How much more traffic for the sale of 3 cars tops? It just seems pretty minimal to me, that's all.
I do. And again, the people that are there, they either drop their car off the night before or in the morning. That's one trip. They come back at the end of their workday and pick up their car. So, yeah, there are a lot of vehicles. He runs a big shop there.
Because
You know, he's got a lot of young mechanics working in there. I know his own kids seem to be involved. And Shane's he's no old timer, so he's gonna be around. But,
I think a determination has already been made that this property is a residential use. It's not economically viable for a residential use. There's an auto body shop. I look at it, even though it's a separate category, I look at it as a companion. And I think I do think it's a slight expansion on what's already happening there. I don't think it's gonna be a huge impact on the neighborhood. So I would be in favor of granting the relief requested.
I think if we can restrict it to 3, and if we can get those cars in behind, however we do that, in our decision or on this map or whatever, I think
we could just say they have to be kept past that dotted line. Or
yes, which is
against the
what
back
he
fence.
uses now.
That's
Yes.
where they park the vehicles against that
Yes.
back
At
fence.
the rear of the building.
Seemed like when we looked at it. So they would need to be on the back rear property fence and limited to a maximum of 3 cars for sale.
I would say that I'm persuaded by Attorney Eliason's argument about this expansion of this business in a residential district. I'd have a very difficult time approving this. Should we suggest that they need 4 votes? And if this were continued until some of our other members are available?
So if you think about that side of Maplewood Avenue, okay, it is a residential zoning district. But this place has been there operating for a long time. If you go to the right of this little roadway, there used to be a appliance store, okay? Then you go down 2 more houses, Seraphine's and the other one, and then there was a bakery. And then you go 2 more houses, and there was a restaurant. So business use, and then go the other way, and you got Strong Leather, a manufacturing facility. So in this block of Maplewood, uninterrupted from Cleveland all the way to Grove Street. There's traditionally been at least 5 businesses, and one of them very substantial size. So, and then all the way up and down Maplewood is all sorts of, so I don't really, yeah. I think they operate
Yet
pretty
it's
well.
not
there.
zoned as mixed use. And,
The name of
It-
itself.
it sounds like it was a nice little business district, little shops, but how long ago was that? I think
Well,
I can only look at it in the current state. And if I,
It was before 2020 when you got here.
there was a lot before 2020. That's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
I might need to think about it, but at this moment, I can't support
Okay. What do you think?
Let him withdraw if you want, or he doesn't have votes. Right, there's 4 of us, and one of
Okay.
us is not going to vote in favor.
Jane, can you come forward?
I did want to say one thing about, if if the building was sold to somebody else, that they may not have a good business like I have. Well, earlier today, we already signed like, on the purchase and sales, but to get financing to purchase it anyways. So it's never going to be sold outside of my family if we purchase it. So,
Are attempting to buy the building?
what's that?
You say you're attempting to buy the building?
Yes.
From Jim?
Yeah, the issue, Shane, that we talked about, I mean, you don't have to agree with it, but the issue that we're talking about is that if we grant you a use permit, it goes with the property. We can't restrict it like we can other kinds of things that we
Right.
grant.
I
One
understand
thing,
that.
one thing we allow, in fairness, because there's only 4 members here, and it takes 4 votes. So normally there's 5 people voting. But you don't have 4 votes tonight. So we would allow you to withdraw the application. Okay? And then you wouldn't restrict yourself. If we turn you down, you can't reapply for 2 years. If you withdraw, you can rethink your plans and apply again. Up to you, but we don't have the votes to approve you.
I would have to withdraw then, but it would have been nice if everyone came. I've been waiting months and months and months and months to get here, and there's not enough members to vote, so.
Just the way it works sometimes, Shane.
Oh, I know, but
But
that really doesn't help me.
They are, it's just the way, I mean, we all try to be here whenever we possibly can.
Yeah, I understand.
Sometimes it just works out.
Yeah, I guess I'll withdraw and have to reapply.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion.
On the petition of James Pratt, seeking a special permit pursuant to GZO 2.4.3 and the use variance pursuant to 2.3.4, I would move withdrawal of the application without prejudice.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The withdrawal is allowed. The next application is the petition of Four River Road LLC, seeking a special permit under 1.8 and 1.9 to demolish an existing non-conforming single-family home and replace it with a 2-family dwelling with variances pursuant to 1.7 for lot area per dwelling, lot width, lot coverage, lot frontage, front, side, and rear setbacks at Four River Road.
Yeah, before you get started, I just want full disclosure here. I am going to hear this. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to hear it when it first came before me. I did a major renovation on this building in 1997, early in my building career of Nyman Construction. I know many of the neighbors. And I maintained that building until 2014 when I closed Nyman Construction. All my work was primarily with the older sister of the 3 sisters who used to own the property. Susan Lannon was her name. I only met Pam Stuppy, I think one time, probably in 1997 or 1998. And I did some research, on online assessors and so on, and I realized it had been sold. The two sisters had sold
Right.
Pam, and now her children have inherited the property, it seems, and they're the ones doing the renovation. I've never met any of them, so I don't feel like my decision would be prejudiced because of my involvement just with the property. So I am going to hear this, just so you know.
Thank you for your disclosure, Mr. Nyman.
Wish to proceed?
Yes, if I could be made a panelist? Thank you very much. For the record again, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. The applicant is 4 River Road LLC. Hayes Stuppy is on Zoom representing the family. The designer is Poor and Company, and Mr. Jonathan Poor is here representing the designer. The contractor is Andrew Stevens. And as I said, the property is located at 4 River Road. And I'll share my screen. This is the property that we're talking about at 4 River Road. Most of the variances that are being sought are for existing conditions. Originally, this was only one lot with the house next door at 6 River Road, and they shared a large front porch that spanned both houses. There was also, I'm told, a cottage to the rear of 4 River Road that was destroyed many years ago by a fire and never rebuilt. In 1988, the ZBA allowed the 2 lots to be separated under GZO 3.1.5, creating many of the existing nonconformities. Because the new lots were created under that section of the GZO, the lot and the house are not grandfathered, and the Stuppies need to seek the variances for all existing conditions because they are changing the use from a single family to a 2-family. So above are the listed existing nonconformities. There is one new nonconformity in the rear yard of 2 feet 5 inches. And we are also seeking a special permit under 2.3.1.3 for a change in use from a 1-family to a 2-family with exterior changes. This is just give you a general overview of what's happening. Everything is in red because the existing home is going to be torn down. There was a flood in 2023, and there's no ability to save the house. However, the main house is going to be built on the same footprint of the existing house. The changes are shown in purple, and this is a rear addition that will be added to the property. It improves the left side variance or left side nonconformity. You can see there are 2 buildings in yellow that are currently on the property that are going to be removed. So the left side variance is currently a couple inches, and it will increase to almost 6 feet. There is a small encroachment to the rear corner, and that's the 2 feet 5 inches. And then with regard to the right side, it is mostly conforming. There is a slight corner encroachment, and then the portion of the building that attaches to the main building, it also encroaches slightly. You can see that this is the setback line, the black dotted line. It's virtually impossible to create a house within that setback. And so what the architect has done is to make sure that we're staying within the footprint of what's there, and then the new addition is going to be built into the hillside that is there to make its, minimal impact on the neighbors. The Stuppy family is seeking to demolish the single-family home and replace it, as I said. They want to accommodate the 4 Stuppy siblings and their families. The main part of the house and the street-facing side will be constructed to look very similar to the existing home. There'll also be the addition to the rear built into the slope. This is a family generational home. It's been in the family since 1809, 7 generations. The Stuppy family have been part of the Annisquam community for those generations. Pamela Stuppy and her family spent summers in Annisquam with their grandparents, who were year-round residents. And Ms. Stuppy then continued that tradition for her children, including Hayes. And it's now her children's wish to continue it for the next generation. Unfortunately, Ms. Stuppy passed away and is not able to see her dream come to fruition, but she was happy to know that the family home would be preserved. The Stubbies are faced with the same dilemma that many families face who have these generational homes. As their families expand, people grow up, get married, have children, the house no longer works for a gathering space for everyone. And in 2023, as I said, there was a major flood that devastated the first floor. And that is why the property has to be completely demolished and replaced. But this, however, presented an opportunity for the Stuppies to redesign the house so that it would allow for family gatherings and still provide privacy for the individual family units. Because it has two kitchens, it's considered a two-family. It allows them to also correct an erosion and drainage issue that has long plagued the property. And even without the rear addition, all of the terracing and patio work would have to be done because that is what is going to correct the drainage and the erosion. And none of that would require zoning approval. It's also part of the Conservation Commission order of conditions to do that work. The Stuppies and their consultants have engaged with the neighbors regarding this project numerous times since the flood in 2023. There are three main times when they talked to the neighbors. The first was shortly after the flood, when everybody wanted to know what they were going to do. Then when they filed the notice of intent with conservation, and again, when they filed with the zoning board. They've also talked many more times in person via email with the immediate neighbors, the neighbors at 9 Arlington Street, Mr. Young, as well as the Hoopers, who are both behind this property. Mr. Poor has also met with the immediate neighbors to the rear when the plan was first created in 2024. He met with them to go over the plan, took pictures, came back with renderings of what it would look like from their properties, and listened to their concerns and tried to address those. There were changes that were made to the plans when it was possible to address the neighbors' concerns, or to provide them with information when it was determined that the concerns were not well-founded. The main concern we heard from the neighbors was the fear that this would be a short-term rental. And there's no intention to use it that way. It's a family house. It's not conducive to frequent short-term rentals. And it's also not possible under the current ordinance. The current ordinance puts a cap of 500, and you have to have been registered by April 1st in order to get any grandfathering rights. And this unit isn't registered, so they'd have to wait in line if they even had any inkling of doing that. We would hope that that allays any of the neighbors' concerns about that issue. There are 2 letters of support that are in the file. And what I'd like to do now is turn the presentation over to Mr. Poor to go into more detail about the plans and show you the drawings. Thank you.
Just wondered if I could be promoted to a panelist. Okay. So, see, can you hear me okay?
As
So
long as you're
Deb-
close to the mic.
Okay. So Deborah went over the basics of the project. So in addition to the flooding, as we took the building apart to correct the flooding and mold damage that occurred as a result, we also found that there were some older alterations, probably from 50, 60 years ago, that were not structurally sound. And so when you combined the mold, the water damage, and the structural deficiencies, we'd basically be rebuilding the building board by board if we tried to renovate it. So that's a little bit more nuanced explanation of why we need to rebuild the building. So in addition to that, over the years, because of the siting of the building, the water from the rear yard, because it's relatively steep here, had been running against the back of the building, under the building, around the building, toward the neighbors, just in lots of uncontrolled ways. And so, as Deborah mentioned, with the Conservation Commission process, we came up with a number of ways of managing the water on site so that it didn't leave the site and it also didn't run across River Road into the wetlands. So there's a good amount of terracing occurring in the rear yard here. There's a lower terrace and then an upper terrace. And then in addition to that, the building additions also terrace. One of the challenges with this existing building is the rear of the first floor is partially underground. So it's very difficult, it was very difficult, currently very difficult to get out of that building up to grade in a way that's safe, comfortable, and also watertight, hence the reasons why the drainage issues. So we have a small addition across the back of the building here that, in a sense, creates the ability to correct that water problem and also get out of the building safely. And then, as Deborah mentioned, they needed an additional space just for gathering the joining of the families. So there's a small, partially underground addition in the back here with basically a stair connector here. And the rear eave of this building is roughly chest height. So that's how far underground this thing is. And then there's some existing vegetation here. This is an existing mature yew right here that is conveniently located to kind of shield the building and shield the terrace use for privacy. As Deborah mentioned, we pretty much are following the cues of the existing building. You can see on the left is existing, on the right is proposed. Ever so slight changes to the roof line, but following the footprint, following the existing maximum height, following the ridge line. So very, very little visible change to the front of the building. In addition, on the with the proposed addition in the rear, we tried to stay use as much as we could the existing footprints of the sheds that were back here. So there's an attached building here, the detached building here. We tried to sort of stay in those footprints and then wherever we came outside of those footprints, try to stay within the setbacks. The building also let's see if I can get a section here. This section's better. You can see here the topography in the cross section, and you can see in the back, it's a little faint here, but the grade comes up against the back of the building here, and then terraces down around it, terraces again, and you can see how far below grade this first floor is here as the building slopes down. So, and then we endeavored to keep the roof as low as we possibly could in the pavilion area. So, and then in addition to that, we, in the very rear part of the yard, in this area back here, this is all just landscaping, and this is what the neighbors look out at. So we endeavored to make that as so naturalized as possible, and even encouraged in our discussions with the neighbors, encouraged agreements of use of that for access for gardening or outdoor use. So because the Stuppies really wanted to use the two terraces as their outdoor space, and sort of think of the rear portion of the yard as kind of public space to give back visually to the neighbors. So I guess that's a quick summary. I don't know whether the board has any questions about the building itself.
Just before you close, can you state your name and your address?
I'm so sorry. Jonathan Poor and Company, 315 Washington Street, Gloucester. My apology.
Not this time.
Nope, not at this time. Take.
I don't-
So if you could mention that you're good to go on the flood zone, but just so we have it on the record.
As far as we know, we are. And I was intending to go through the legal requirements, if you would like me to do that also.
Sure.
Okay. So yes, we are, the property is in the flood zone, but the house and the construction is all outside of the flood zone. And so although we haven't had formal notice of that, we filed the application and anticipate that we are all set on that. Sorry. Trying to make you smaller. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job. With regard to the variances may be granted because without substantial harm to the public good and do not substantially undercut the purpose of the zoning ordinance. Except for the small variance in the rear yard, the only reason the variances are needed is because of the change in use. There is substantial hardship due to lot shape, topography, soil conditions, and pre-existing conditions. The lot is narrow. It rises steeply in the rear and has significant ledge in the rear. The rear addition was constructed to minimize its impact on the neighbors by being constructed into the existing hillside, and it falls within the jurisdiction of conservation, placing more restrictions on the construction. The FEMA flood zone encroaches into the front yard, and the house is outside of that flood zone. 2 families are allowed in this district with a special permit when there are exterior changes. Therefore, it's consistent with the GZO.
So Deb, remind me, the 2.5 feet, where is that variance?
That is the rear left side. Would you like me to show the site plan?
If you don't mind. I mean, I'm looking at the site plan, but maybe you could just point it out to me.
Point on the pink outside of the.
It is right here. Appears to be frozen up there.
No. Ah, okay, I see it now. Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. It's not, my computer is not paying attention to me. With regard to the pre-existing conditions, the building was constructed before zoning. The current setbacks, as I showed you, make it virtually impossible to construct a new usable building within those setbacks. The encroachments are due to the original location and those created by separating the building. And the buildings on 4 and 6 River Road were so close together that there was no way to separate the lots without creating nonconformities. The GZO allowed those lots to be separated, and so it made them more conforming by now having one principal use on each lot, which is consistent with the ordinance, and therefore something that is favored by the city. For all these reasons, I would suggest the variances do not substantially undercut the purposes of the ordinance. With regard to the change in use, we must look at the criteria under 1.8.3. And I would suggest that the proposed change in use is in harmony with the intent and purpose of the ordinance that allows two-family residences. It will not adversely affect the neighborhood, the R20 district, or the city to such an extent that it outweighs the benefits. The social, economic, and community needs will be served by the change in use to a two-family. It adds more housing options for the city. It's consistent with this predominantly residential neighborhood, and it will allow the family to maintain its 7-generation-long relationship with Annisquam. It will also provide a home for extended family and multiple generations. Traffic flow and safety impact will be negligible. There's adequate conforming on-site parking, and adding one additional bedroom unit will not significantly increase the traffic. Utilities and other public services also will not be negatively affected. It's adequately served by city water and sewer. And again, one modest unit will not significantly increase the need for public services. The proposed two-family is consistent with neighborhood character and social structure. It's predominantly residential properties. A two-family is allowed under the ordinance, and it's largely constructed within the envelope of the existing home. The rear addition will not be visible from River Road, and the facade along River Road will be substantially the same. When you look at the home, you will look at it as if it is a single-family home. The qualities of the natural environment will not be affected. The project has been thoroughly vetted and approved by conservation. Open space has been maximized to the extent possible, and it will be heavily vegetated, especially in the back. It's designed to adhere to the Rivers Act, even though that property is outside of that jurisdiction. And the new building will resolve the erosion and drainage problems that have plagued the property for decades. The potential fiscal impact will be positive. The upgrades and improvements made to the property will likely increase its value and modestly add to the real estate taxes. And with regard to vulnerability to flooding, again, it is outside of the flood zone, and we expect that it'll be approved under the new ordinance. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have and respectfully request that you grant the variances and the special permit.
Thank you. Any questions at this time? Okay, we'll have public testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application, please come forward or raise your hand if you're online. Anyone in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Any opposition, please come forward. Remind your name and address for the record, and then tell us what you think.
Good evening. Peter Young, 9 Arlington Street in Gloucester. Carolyn Roy, my partner, will be joining. I'll speak for about a minute, and then she'll speak for a couple. 28 years in 9 Arlington, full-time, year-round. We do appreciate that the owners will be fixing the derelict house that's been derelict for a couple of years now, so that's all good. I'd like to thank the board for your time and efforts. I get it. I'm on the Gloucester Waterways Board, so thank you. So for us, the scale of the plans is the issue that we have, and Carolyn will speak to that. You all been to Annisquam, probably. It's pretty tight there. Homes are cheek to jowl. And what was mentioned, Deb had mentioned that the visual from River Road really won't change, but they sure will change for us because we're in back. Carolyn?
I live at 9 Arlington also. I'm Carolyn Roy. And the points I want to make is that it's too big, it's too close, and it's not right. In the drawing, we're the house, the little boxes that you see outside of the diagram. We are 2 feet and 4 feet away from the property line. It would be hard to be closer than that. How that occurred is at one point, the 2 homes were connected and the grandfather, some time ago, sold the property behind the house of the 2 houses on 4 and 6 River Road, sold one of the lots to a friend for $1. And in 1947, they moved our house there. And that's why it barely made it over the property line. And it's actually encroaches a little bit into the public alley, but that's all that separates the 2 properties. So this is in our backyard too. So why this is important also is that the character of Annisquam is at risk. We have charming, hip-roofed houses that are federal style, and they're from the 1700s and the early 1800s. The next house over from this house is historic. It has a shell in it from a British frigate that in the War of 1812 was shot into that house. So fortunately for all of us, it still shows the charming hip roof character, 2-story, 1-family house. Around the corner from that is an even older house from 1657, no, 1656, the Captain Harridan House, and he was the captain of Old Ironsides. So that's very historic. Unfortunately, all of these charming properties and pockets in Gloucester are only protected by the vigilance of the neighbors to stand up for what should be preserved for tomorrow as well, as the sign up there says. So I'm here trying to preserve Annisquam and our property and our enjoyment. So our house was moved there, and it's a 6-room house. 5 of the 6 rooms in that house sit on that property line and look out on this proposed dwelling. We've been there almost 30 years. In that time, the Lannon aunts would visit in the summer, and then after they were done doing that, they rented it. So we've had a really undisturbed use of our house, our backyard, our privacy, because everything is oriented toward the street and the ocean, the water, the river. We, on one side of our house, we have a river view between the 2 houses. On the other side, facing this property, we have a hillside that they speak of building this house into with a panoramic view of Annisquam. It's really quite stunning. We have the sunset. You can see the sunset from our house. You can see this from our roof deck, the master bedroom, the living room, the sunroom, the kitchen, and another bedroom, which all edge that property 2 to 4 feet away from this family gathering place being proposed. So why the proposed project is a concern is that by building it into the hillside and expanding beyond the original footprint, it makes the situation worse. So the reason we can see a sunset, see this panoramic view, is we're not looking at a new house, a new dwelling that they want to put in there. And this 3rd floor level, which is totally uncharacteristic for Annisquam. People have 2-story houses and their single-family dwelling. This 3rd floor will block out our view, as will the proposed added house. No more sunsets for us. Instead, we will have family gatherings 2 feet to 4 feet from our house. We don't like the proposed floating stairway that goes up to the 3rd level because it too is where all the traffic will be going to the second family, which is right on our side of the house. The proposed new building, as I already mentioned, will block our view. So our concern is noise, foot traffic, losing our privacy, and our peace and quiet. In summary, the third story is not appropriate for Annisquam. This is there are no two families that I know of in Annisquam. It may be allowed, but is it appropriate for such a historic area where the only thing preserving the charm is the neighbors? It is not consistent with the neighborhood, and everything is single-family housing, and the third floor presents too much density. The extra building is too much density. All of this is too high, blocking our view, too close to us because of the way the lot situation is. They do have a right to renovate the existing property. They don't have a right to ruin our happiness, and it's not right for Annisquam, which we want to protect for tomorrow. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, rebuttal?
What I'd like to do is ask Mr. Poor to show you some more pictures that will give you an idea of what exactly this building is going to do to the view. I'd just like to point out that there already is a third floor, so this isn't adding a third floor to the building. And also the staircase is required as an egress, secondary egress. It has to be a certain distance from the primary egress, which is inside. It's a staircase that leads to a stepping stone kind of patio, so it's certainly not going to be the primary egress from the house. If you're carrying a tray, you're not going to come down the spiral staircase. You're going to go through the house out to the terrace. I'd also like to point out that the 2 to 4 feet from the property line is their house. And actually this side, the right side setback is met in most instances. So it really does comply with what the ordinance has to say. But I would also like Mr. Poor to give you more details.
Oh. Oh.
Okay. So this is a view from the neighbor's balcony, and the yellow line, whoops, the yellow line represents the line of the addition, and then the this dotted line here represents a removal of a piece of the roof. So this piece of the roof comes off, and then this is the new roof line here. So this is Adams Hill out here. So that's that view. And from a seated position, that the previous one was from a standing position on the deck, and this is from a seated position. Again, same lines.
This is from the Young's house?
Yes.
How'd you get on there?
I met with them a couple times, so we talked about all these concerns, and we're working together to address them.
Thank you.
So, so then, and then from the lower level, that's the third floor, the existing third floor, and that doesn't change, so that line is there. And then that gable end from this position is right there. So, and then there'll be a lot of added vegetation in here for privacy and drainage and reabsorption for the Conservation Commission. So really this is the existing U. This will be filled in with vegetation here as required by Conservation Commission. If we were to look to the right, from the site plan, as I mentioned, there's in a sense a community garden So looking right out at any of these windows is this garden where everything would be kept low so you can look into it. So that'd be the long view from that area, which again, we just offered from a neighborly point of view so that any of those windows they look out, there's something that looks nice out there, and actually design it so it looks like it's theirs. That'd be the goal, so that it's, if anybody understands sort of foreground, midground, background, plant massing, do a lot of site and landscape design. In your own garden, you'd have your shrubs low in the foreground, and then middle ground, and then a background. So we would set this up so that it would be foreground, midground, background for the neighbors, so that it feels like part of their yard. And that's something that the Stuppies really wanted to provide for the neighbors. Any questions on that? Stop share.
Just one other point with regard to preserving the houses in the neighborhood and this historic look. That's exactly what the Stuppies are doing. The house itself cannot be saved, but when you looked at those renderings of what it looks like now and what it will look like, it will be essentially the same house. Unfortunately, they can't save what's there.
Any questions for Deb? Discussion by the board.
Discussion, you said?
Yep.
I'm sympathetic to Carolyn and Peter. I think sometimes what happens, in my estimation, I think sometimes what happens, and this isn't the only property since I've been on the board, but also when I was building and stuff, that you get used to sort of own, and I'm really not using this as a negative word, but it's sort of the idea, you get used to owning property that isn't really yours. We all do. That we enjoy benefits of the way people use their property, but we don't actually own the property. So we have to consider, whether to grant this special permit and these variances. But view obstruction is not what we consider below 30 feet. We're actually not allowed to consider that below 30 feet. So I'm sympathetic that you're going to lose some of these things that you've had for 28 years. But the question that, and another thing that was commented, sort of the character of Annisquam, and I love Annisquam. I built there for years and years, many, many, many different properties. I love it down there. And mostly single-family homes, like you said. But two-family homes are allowed. And more they probably will come to Annisquam, just like they're coming to everywhere else in Gloucester. And so, to me, sitting on the board, I can't consider that it's not part of the character of Annisquam to not have two-family homes. I can't consider that because they're allowed. And if there weren't any exterior changes, they'd be allowed by right, actually. So we have to consider it because of the exterior changes that are going on. So I personally think they're doing there's already a third story there. I think they're doing a pretty good job, actually, of trying to manage that property, get some of the things that they want. But I understand that you're not in favor of it, and I understand why.
Yeah, as I listened, I was a little concerned with that addition piece. But I knew where Adams Hill was behind there, and I didn't, I wasn't sure, so I really appreciate the photos, which helped clear that up. There is no, and again, it's not even a consideration, but this is well below the tree line. It's below the hill. There's no real existing view out through this to the river. They must still be able to look this way, but, so yeah, I'm convinced that it is acceptable, I guess, use that word. Anyone else?
Yeah, no, I agreed with everything that you said, Michael, and we do all get used to the views we have, and it is hard when people make other uses of their property that impact how our property feels. But, you know, they're in I think the family's in a situation where they need to renovate this building that's dilapidated and that has been damaged by flood. And I think they've made a reasonable use of the property and really were thoughtful as much as they could be to protect 9 Arlington's, you know, feel of a backyard and whatnot. And I think, you know, real need to, you have a growing family, it's a valuable piece of property, it's expensive to rebuild, so wanting to make it so that the most of your family can use it as possible. I think that is, you know, an understandable, reasonable use made by the petitioners. I do think that it is, I mean, it's pretty varied in Annisquam. It is beautiful down in Annisquam, and there is I don't think that this is not in keeping with the neighborhood. I do think that it will fit in. I do appreciate that you've kind of worked with the hill and worked it into the hill. So I think the lot creates challenges and presents a hardship for them to try to comply with the dimensional setbacks. And I do think I can vote for this without feeling like we're keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. So I'm going to vote in favor.
I basically concur with what my colleagues are saying. I think it's a very tasteful and thoughtful job. And I think it, you know, Annisquam is a densely inhabited space, and I don't think this is going to make that it appreciably more dense. So this will have my support.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Can make the motion.
Thank you.
Petitioner, 4 River Road LLC, seeking special permits pursuant to GZO 1.8 and 1.9 to demolish an existing non-conforming single-family home and replace it with a two-family dwelling with variances pursuant to 1.7 for lot area per dwelling, lot width, lot coverage, lot frontage, front, side, and rear setbacks at 4 River Road. I would move approval of the special permit to change from 1 to 2. I felt like your explanation of 1.8.3 was very adequate, as long as that's all in your write-up, then I would be good with that. And I would also move approval of the variances, as all of them are, we almost call them housekeeping variances at times. The only one that would be the exception would be the 2.5 feet in the back, which to me is clearly have the hardship of lot width and ledge everywhere and so on. So I would move approval of the variances and of the special permit.
Motion made
Seconded.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Okay, our next hearing is the petition of Julie and Paulo Lopes seeking special permits 2.4.3 and 3.1.6 with a variance pursuant to 5.5.17. Demolish and replace an existing non-conforming single-family home located in the floodplain overlay district and which will have building height over 30 feet at 84 Thatcher Road. Attorney Frontier.
Yes, for the record, Sal Frontiero, 46 Middle Street for the petitioner. I represent Paulo and Julie Lopes, who own 84 Thatcher Road. And let me just get the site plan up if I can. Just share the screen. Okay, thank you. My apologies. Sorry, can you share the screen again? My apologies. No, I might need help on this. I get the share, then I lose it. I want to get that open.
Is that actually already open?
No, that's over. Now when they share, it'll flop automatically.
No.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, hold on, I finished loading up.
Plus old phone
Usually, would you,
and Ross.
Yep.
I wasn't gonna throw you in the old phone.
beginnings?
Oh,
Full
yeah.
screen, yes. Go to here real quick. You click share,
Oh, you gotta do that after. Oh, I had to.
and then you're gonna just select the PowerPoint itself.
And
Okay,
you're like,
gotcha.
I can't, I'm like,
Thank you, appreciate it.
yeah.
Oops, hold on.
All right, great.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for your patience on that. Bill, how do I script? Oh, okay, great, got it. Again, this is 78 Thatcher Road. The site is located between Good Harbor Beach and Long Beach. It's on the left side of the road next to a pond that abuts the property.
Oh, you said 78. It's 80.
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. 84, my apologies. The site is located in the R10 zoning district. It's a triangular shaped lot that contains 6,135 square feet and a single-family home with 2 bedrooms. The site is legally non-conforming as to lot area, and the structure is legally non-conforming as to both rear yard setback and front yard setback. Some of the improvements to the site, as you can see, are on neighboring land. That's a patio and a pool. That area is either owned by the city of Gloucester or part of it is a paper street. So it probably never will be built on, but it does encroach. Just wanted to point that out. To the west of the property over here is a condominium building, and this property abuts the parking area for that condominium building. Again, to the north is undeveloped land. To the east is undeveloped land, and in the front is obviously Thatcher Road. So it's rather isolated, this property. The site is entirely within the AE's flood zone under section 5.5.7 of the zoning ordinance, allows movement and reconstruction of a structure in the AE zone, provided that the altered or replaced structure does not increase the lot coverage in the AE zone by more than 10%. Here we are increasing it, but we are decreasing it by 6%. So it's a net positive there. The petitioner proposed to tear down and rebuild the existing structure with a new single-family home. It's going to be moved to the west by about 10 feet, as you can see, and it will still be in compliance with left side yard setback. This is the existing elevations for the building now. And again, as this project involves a tear down and a rebuild, we will need the condition of 2.4.5 to meet, which is that the structure has to be torn down. The approval has to be for the tear down and the rebuild has to be in the same hearing, and it has to be rebuilt as expeditiously as possible. And the replacement structure will have 3 bedrooms. It'll increase the front yard nonconformity by just a foot. And here's some pictures of the proposed structure, and it will decrease the rear yard nonconformity significantly. So when looking at this for the special permit to alter and expand, we have a 2-pronged test, as you know, for single and 2. The first is it increasing the nonconforming nature of the structure? And the second is, if so, if not, no special permit is needed. If so, then we're going to go to the second prong, which is it substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? Now, this one's a little bit tricky here because we are increasing the nonconformity in the front by a foot, but yet we're decreasing the rear yard nonconformity by 11.9 feet. And I also think it's relevant because this is an undersized lot that we're decreasing the lot coverage by 6%. So lot coverage is in compliance before and would be in compliance afterwards, but I think it's significant to mention that as far as whether we need to go to the second prong of the test. One could argue that anything that happens on an undersized lot increases nonconformity, but it's a little bit different here because it's decreasing the lot coverage. So, however, we need to condition the relief on 2.4.5. So I'm not sure how we do that unless we go to the second prong of the test. You know what I mean? So that is not really a separate special permit. It's a condition to the special permit to alter and expand. So I think because of that, we do need to go on to the second prong of the test. Otherwise, we have nothing to condition. I don't know that the zoning ordinance anticipated this situation. I don't know what the board's thought is on that.
Because you're saying you're not intensifying the nonconformity.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's up to this board to, to find, but that's my,
But where this is a tear down and
Right.
rebuild.
right. So, and again, I don't view that 2.4.5 as a separate special permit. The way I read it's a condition, but
The condition of.
Yeah.
I believe you've made that position
yes,
many times.
yes, I have. But the issue is if we don't if we don't get a special permit here, we can't condition it. So I think we need to go to the special, the section, the next section anyway. I don't know what the board's thought is on that.
Yeah.
Anything? no?
Okay. I think-
Otherwise, if you tear it down, you don't have permission to put it back up. Right?
I'm sorry?
I said, otherwise, if you tear it down, you don't have permission to put it.
Yeah,
back
basically.
Right.
So I think,
up. Do that.
yeah, no, I'm saying,
I don't
think-
want to let you do that.
No, no. So I think we need to move on to the second prong of the test for that reason alone. So here I would submit that it does not increase the it doesn't, excuse me, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Again, we're decreasing a nonconformity. We are decreasing lot coverage on
You're
an
increasing
undersized
height.
lot. I'm sorry?
You're increasing height,
Special permit.
Yeah, that's a different special permit though.
right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's an
well, That's relevant.
intensification.
here. Yes, we could certainly argue
Right.
that. But I didn't consider that because it's a separate special permit. But yeah, one could argue that is a
Right.
grounds right there as well.
Right.
And so as a result of that, and the neighborhood is rather eclectic. It's got a condo building, it's got older homes, it's got newer homes. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge. And this house, as I said, sits rather isolated. So based on that, based on the fact that it's got, a parking lot to the west, woods to the rear and side, and right side, I think that there's no way you can find it's really substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. There's really nothing around there that's affected. So for that reason, I ask that this board approve the special permit to alter and expand.
It's going to be a nice house.
Oh, yes, much nicer house. I should mention that as well. Much nicer house.
Really improve the neighborhood. too.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
And that was
This is the
historic.
house that was part of the riding.
Yeah, it was the home for the horse stable.
Yeah.
Catherine and I grew up in that neighborhood, so yeah, that
Yeah.
was, so, and then it was the
Next house girl.
a mini golf course next to it, then it was a Amelia's, and now there's a condo building there.
Yeah.
So, and this gives you a little picture of what the building will look like. I think it'll be a nice improvement. Architecturally, the style's nice.
The house is kind of,
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. We'll be sort of tearing down a rather dilapidated house and building a nice brand new one as well. Also, we need a special permit pursuant to 3.1.6A of the zoning ordinance for height in excess of 30 feet but below 35 feet. And that is done by this board only upon a written determination that the increase in allowable height is consistent with neighborhood character, will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood because of obstruction of views, overshadowing of other properties, impairment of utilities, or other adverse impacts. As I stated before, as far as neighborhood character, I think I've already covered that. It is a very, very different neighborhood in terms of it doesn't have any kind of homogenized look to it. So I think the new structure will fit into the neighborhood. There'll be no overshadowing. Again, any shadows cast will be either in the woods or in that parking lot, based on where the angle of the sun is there. It won't obstruct anybody's view. The properties across the street are all up higher, and the view is really more in the other direction towards Good Harbor Beach anyway. So I don't think it'll have any effect on views. It won't have any effect on overshadowing, and it won't impair utilities of any other adverse impacts. And again, we're also building within the flood zone. I should mention that in the AE zone, as I said, the whole entire lot is in the AE zone. So not just the structure, the whole entire lot. And again, a 10% increase is allowed. We are decreasing by 6% instead. And the new structure will comply with the flood zone. It's obviously the current structure does not. That's obviously another point with the special permit to alter and expand as well. The new structure will be safer and that it will comply. So for those reasons, I think the relief requested should be granted. Any questions?
What's the status of those improvements that are not on the property?
They're there. I mean, they were built. I think people just sort of thought maybe it was their property at one time. It's something that will never be built on. I'm not justifying the encroachment. There is the 100-foot buffer right there. I don't know how that transpired. It was prior to my client's ownership. My client recently bought the property. So that was not her doing.
Do they intend to keep it that way?
I believe they do. Yeah, I mean, if that's an issue, that we could look at that. So it's kind of not really shown on the site plan but I believe they do. Go back to the site plan.
Yeah, they are noted on the site. plan.
Yeah, they're noted there, but they're not shown in red so I think they're going to keep them there for now. And there's also a shed way off the property as well. I don't know if that's theirs, that's shown as well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how that happened. My clients bought it with that in place. But it is a fairly significant encroachment. on City of Gloucester land and on a right-of-way. So I'm not quite sure of their intention on that, but it wasn't, I think it's important to point out, it's not something they built. If the board has any questions?
It still requires the variance for,
For the flood zone?
yeah,
Yeah, we're just clarifying the 5.17.
Yep.
we're still trying to get used to this flood zone.
Yeah, so am I. And I did submit the paperwork ahead of time, so he has that.
That's approved.
All right,
It's verified.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
any questions? We'll take public testimony. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Can you take your screen down?
Sure.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Come forward. Anyone in favor? I can't, hold on, I can't.
There you go.
Yeah, now I can see. Okay, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Julie, are you in favor? You have your hand up.
He's the client.
Oh, okay.
She might be able to answer that question, though, about the pool.
It's interesting.
Bring her in, sure.
This paper roads.
That people
Can you help her bring her in?
Catherine, directly across from my house on Myrtle Square, there's a paper road that just goes into the bog. And
Julie, you're muted. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me now?
You can just give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Julie Lopes, 84 Thatcher Road.
Okay,
I just wanted to clarify, I know you were talking about the areas that are not on our property, the pool and, the property that's further back that Sal had mentioned that he thought we were planning on continuing to use that, but that's not in our plan. Our plan is to only use the property that belongs to us.
well, that's a good thing, legal thing to do.
good plan.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there any opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, there'll be no need for rebuttal.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I'm wondering what the underpinnings are for the need for the variance on the flood zone if we're decreasing. I'm not quite sure. That was added in, but I mean, I'd rather err on the side of caution if there's any question.
So from speaking with legal, it's just the way they want it done with the ordinance, just so it's why you had to fill out the paperwork. They just want the variance.
Okay. Yeah, because it does, I think it reads that increase, but I'm fine with it if that's what they want, obviously, but that's the reason I didn't include it in the application originally.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that in. Session?
No.
Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Probably your last one.
Could be my last-
Make it a good
last
one.
The petitioner Julie and Paolo Lopes seeking a special permits pursuant to 243 and 316 and a variance pursuant to GZO 5.5.17 to enable them to demolish and replace an existing non-conforming single-family home located in the floodplain and which will have a building height over 30 feet. So I think that this is a definite improvement. I think that the shape of that lot itself presents a hardship. I think that the need to get up out of the floodplain is also a reason for the height. Special permit, I don't think it's gonna, there's no one's blue view that's going to be blocked. I don't think that it'll have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. I think it is a nice project, and I would move approval of all the relief requested.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved.
Thank you. I'd be happy to draft the decision. Thank you.
Be a lot quicker.
Attorney Frontera, can you make sure that you record in the decision that the homeowner has stated that their intent is to not use those?
Sure.
Encroachments, yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our last hearing of the evening is the petitioner Edward Collegios seeking a special permit under 5.24 to convert a garage into an accessory dwelling unit at 32 Beacon Street.
Joel, before you get started, full disclosure, I own 8 Beacon Street, 2-family. Was actually working there today, changing some windows in the back. I have a permit, but just want you to know that. I'm fine hearing this. My property is not affected by the decision pro or against the decision that we might render tonight. It's not big enough to do what you're doing. It's not the same thing at all. So if you don't want me to hear it, I won't.
I appreciate the disclosure. I have no problem with you hearing this one. Thank you.
This one.
Natasha, if you could just let me in as a. Okay. Once we get it going, there we are. For the record, my name is Joel Favaza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions, an address 123 Main Street in Gloucester. I'm here on behalf of Edward Gallegos. He is the owner of 32 Beacon Street. He's here tonight. Should you need to speak with him, you may recall he was before you somewhat recently when he acquired the property. He took an existing unpermitted 4-family and spent the time and money to actually get those 4 units permitted through your board and then through the city council. And so tonight we are looking to take the existing garage that is on the property and convert that into an ADU. The work involves adding the utilities and amenities, it's late guys, to the building itself. They're going to maintain the footprint. They're going to maintain the ridge height. So basically the cube of the structure itself is going to remain fairly unchanged. They may have to shore up the foundation and do some other structural work. And then obviously the facade right now has garage doors. Those will change to a more residential appearance. We are in the R5 high density residential district. There's a 4-dwelling unit multifamily structure on the property. The lot and existing multifamily exist pursuant to variances this board granted, as well as relief from the city council for the use itself. And so we are, again, just looking to take that detached garage and make it into an ADU. Now, this would be an ADU by right, but for the fact that the garage is too close to the right side yard setback. And so that's why we have to come to you for relief via special permit for that. Per usual, we have the assessor data here and the GIS maps. This is a picture. If you guys remember what this house looked like before Mr. Gallegos purchased it, he's done a great job in restoring its kind of glory. It was in pretty rough shape. I looked at it myself and said, I can't imagine where to begin with this. I'm glad someone who knew how to address it took care of it for the community. But down here, the garage is reminiscent of what the rest of the house used to look like, and it's in need of some love. And we are in need of some housing units, so we can kill 2 birds, 1 stone by making that an ADU. This is the site plan showing at minimum 5 compliant parking spaces, none of which require tandem parking, so they all are able to get in and out without. Obviously, you can see from the size of the driveway that during a snow emergency, you could probably double the amount of cars being shown. But again, to show that we are compliant with the parking regs, those are the 5 9x18 unobstructed spots. Just some architectural plans that were in the file. Again, you can see the existing facade is a garage type facade. This is the proposed floor plan, single bedroom, bath, and then a kind of an open concept kitchen living area. This is the new facade, top left. Again, just gets rid of the garage doors, put some windows. Again, same foundation, same height. And this is more architectural plans. This is a nice little rendering of the open concept kitchen living area. And so the reason we're able to do this is because the Affordable Homes Act from 2024 made some alterations to ADU laws throughout the state. And it says that no municipality can unreasonably restrict ADU uses And so several of the parts of the ADU statute that we have in the GZO have been superseded and wiped out. One of which is that, when we get to the next one, is the owner occupied restriction has been invalidated by the state law. So you no longer have to require the owner to occupy one of the units. In this case, this will be rental in addition. And then the other thing that has been removed is City of Gloucester used to limit it to single-family properties only. And now, so long as the property is in a district in which single-family residential structures are allowed, an ADU is allowed. And when we get to the statutory part of this, you'll see that the new definition of a principal dwelling is that it contains at least one dwelling unit, which infers that it's anticipated that dwelling, principal structure would have more than one. Again, because we are too close to the right side yard setback, we do need a special permit. And so we have to prove to you that the ADU meets the purposes of the ADU ordinance in Gloucester and that the ADU will not have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood. So you look at all the purposes listed in the ADU ordinance and we hit all of them. It's providing appropriate housing in a residential district and a high density residential district to boot. It's a diverse housing option. Again, this is a standalone but small unit. It is being done in an economical manner, and it's going to, again, based on its modest size, even though it's not restricted in any sort of affordable way, there's only so much you can charge for a modest unit such as this. The proposed ADU cannot have any detrimental impact on the neighborhood. Again, this lot's much bigger than a lot of the lots, and as you saw from the satellite photos, the space around the ADU especially is more space than you typically see between the houses out there in that area. Again, it also, from its topographical situation on the lot, the house sits up tall up on the street, and this is down Conant, and almost feels like a little tiny house off of Conant. But the parking lot is shared with the larger house. There it is again, down the hill. And so again, the recap is we're just looking to turn this existing garage into an ADU. The new law from last year wipes out the prohibitions in the GZO that would have stopped this from being an option. And again, you just make a finding that this is meeting the requirements and the purpose of an ADU statute in Gloucester, and that it's not going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. You make those two findings, you can grant the special permit to allow for the right side yard setback violation for this structure. Thank you very much. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Questions? Take testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Please raise your hand. I see Michael Seaches with a hand raised. Muted, Michael. We could hear what.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Michael Bassich from 33 Beacon Street. And I noticed in the past you've only asked for comments in favor and comments against. And I think I'm in favor of it, but I just have a couple of questions that I want to clarify. I had looked over the application earlier today, and in the attorney's presentation as well, it seemed to be pretty clear that the plan is not to increase the height of this building at all. Am I correct in that assumption, that it's written into the approval that that the replacement building will be at the same height? Said in the attorney's presentation.
Just double checking.
Thank you.
The attorney is nodding his head. It's not visible on your phone, I'm sure.
If you'd like, Mr. Chair, I can answer that. Yes, the height of the building, the ridge of the building will remain the same, as will the foundation footprint.
Great.
But you
Thank
stated
you.
in your presentation.
Yep, so it sounds like it's going to be the same ridge height.
Okay, and then the second question came from my learning at the meeting from the first case, that the permission goes with the property, not necessarily the current owner. So it's just to check if the property were sold, the new owners would also be required to keep the building at the same height and not build up on top of it.
Any change to something granted by a variance or special permit would have to come back if they wanted to change it to us.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then I support the project. I appreciate the improvement of the house that's gone on, and I think this will add to it. So thank you for answering my questions.
No problem. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there any opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none? Motion?
I can make a motion.
Fine.
Petitioner Edward Gallegos, I believe is how you pronounce it. Yes. Gallegos is seeking a special permit pursuant to 5.2.4 to convert a garage into accessory dwelling unit at 32 Beacon Street. As presented by the attorney, I would move approval of the special permit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Appreciate it, draft.
Yeah,
do.
compliments on beautiful job at
Beautiful job.
restoring the house.
Thank you.
All righty. Oh, I did too. Now it's bedtime, so that's good.
Okay. Anybody need to bring anything up? We have been requested by the planning board.
I was just.
You all got you should have all got a copy of an ordinance that's being proposed.
Oh, I didn't, did they email us?
Natasha did
Did they email the copy? Oh, you
Natasha
did,
did.
Natasha,
When-
thank you.
Sorry, when did you send it?
today.
Okay,
Okay.
so I just haven't seen it.
So
Sure.
it's a
neither.
paragraph of suggested change to the ordinance, which I don't want to, everybody read it. If you have some feedback, let me know, because the planning board's asking our thoughts. It would possibly eliminate instances where just because we were going 1 to 2 and it's already no changes to the building, why do we have to?
Or a 3 to
variance
4,
everything.
you know?
um,
My only thing that I would ask people to consider and take a look at is, I like the intent of the ordinance because, you know, if you're not making any dimensional changes, why do you need to do dimensional relief? But it is wide open. It's saying any change of use. Like, so if someone is going, I would feel comfortable doing it on residential uses, but I'm not sure about if you said, well, I'm going to change it to a commercial use. You still have to come in for the use permit, but to just say you don't have dimensional changes, I don't know if that would always necessarily work. So just kind of,
So let me know what you
Yeah.
think.
yeah.
Email, whatever. And then I'll kind of put some kind of an answer. I have to look at the timeline when they want to hear. If it's not till our next meeting, I'll wait till then and we can vote on.
I think they said they are hoping to hear from us by their first week of May
Okay,
meeting.
so we'll be good.
And I viewed the hearing.
Did too.
Yep.
So it's about 30 minutes of,
The letter tells you what point in the meeting.
yes, it does
If you
tell
wanna
you the
listen to
starting
it,
point,
yeah.
but I thought you'd like to know. It's about 30 minutes. It's interesting to see the back and forth.
So give me any feedback and then we'll put a draft together to vote on at our meeting on the 24th. Other than that, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
All right.
So you heard me making noise in my backyard? Is that what you're saying?
I thought I heard it. I thought I heard a noise, but if you were at 8,
Yeah.
I couldn't have heard you
Oh.
at 40.